Good morning, everybody. This is Hal Alpert, and I'm going to be reporting to you on 4 areas this morning. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. The 4 areas I'll cover are Taxation and Government Finance Committee, some interesting tidbits from the Local Government Forum, and Communications Committee, and Veteran Housing Bonds. As a way of introduction, let me say that CAR is still trying to get their hands around the issue of being able to transfer your property tax base from one home to another anywhere in the state. There's a legislator who is interested in knowing more about the fiscal impact of doing something like that, and this will probably be recommended for a study by the legislature. CAR supports this study, and we support it because we're not going to have to pay for it. Next, there's going to be a constitutional amendment on the ballot this June that would force all public agencies to make their upcoming agendas and other such documents published in a public place, i.e., for example, in the internet. Most agencies are placing such documents on the internet now. The issue becomes interesting enough that if the legislature passes legislation that forces them to do this by creating a law, the local jurisdictions can turn around, and they do, and send their bill for the cost of doing this to the state. You might think, well, how much could this cost to put it on the internet? Well, the state, the local organizations take the position that all the costs, from putting it on the internet to having the staff develop the report to typing it, having attorneys review it, all of those costs are, in their opinion, are subject to reimbursement by the state. And should they produce a constitutional amendment to require local jurisdictions to do this, then it's part of the Constitution, and apparently it is not reimbursable by the state. So CAR, in support of having all these documents published, and thinking that the state has to, the local organizations have to produce these documents anyway, whether or not the state is reimbursing them, took a for position. In other words, we support the constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot this June. Another issue is on short sales. We've talked about the tax forgiveness issue with short sales before. We had this SB 30 on the ballot last year that got tied to another bill and never got out of the starting blocks. But what we ended up doing is that we have a letter from the IRS that says that, well, since the home loans are non-recourse loans, there can't be a tax on the debt forgiveness, because when you have a non-recourse loan, there is no liability to the homeowner. So IRS sent a letter confirming that to CAR. CAR took that letter and brought it to the Franchise Tax Board and said, well, the IRS isn't going to tax us because it's non-recourse, and the tax board studied it for a while, and they have agreed that as long as it's a non-recourse loan, there will be no tax. Now, there are letters from the IRS and the FTB available on the CAR website. So if you have some clients who are dealing with that, and you want to not provide tax advice, but give them copies of the letter so that they can take to their accountants. That's available on the CAR websites. And next, some interesting tidbits from the local government forum. We have this meeting with the government leaders every year. Well, those meet and greets are, there is funding available for those kind of things, as long as we're talking about local issues with the government, and we stay within the CAR guidelines, which should be pretty easy. So we expect that this year we'll have a bigger and better meeting with the local government, and hopefully you'll be able to take part in that and ask questions of the local government officials and give them some new ideas for them to think about to help support real estate. We talked about a wide range of issues in the local government forum, including linkage fees for affordable housing. It turns out in San Diego, the builders were putting on these fees of up to 1.5% of the purchase price, and that 1.5% fee on a purchase of a home, new home, would go towards affordable housing. Well, we support affordable housing, but that can get pretty pricey, especially when you're talking about $500,000 homes. The San Diego Association of Realtors couldn't convince them not to put it to go through with this, so what they did was they went out and collected 50,000 plus signatures to get it on the ballot. Now their local city council has to decide whether or not to adopt the resolution that the Association of Realtors and their allies produced, or put it on the ballot and take it to a vote. And San Diego's position was that it was a job killer. The next issue that was interesting is eminent domain in Richmond. There's still no definite word on how that will turn out. The issue there is that they can't get a majority in the city council to approve it, and they need a majority, a supermajority, but they're trying to get this joint powers agreement, which they're still having trouble with that, so we'll keep you updated on that. Interesting thing from the Palos Verdes area, the local school district was looking to increase their parcel tax for education from $150 to $400 a parcel. And normally realtors would oppose that, but in this case the local association got behind the tax. Why? Well, this school district is the second best in the state, and the local association collected evidence that showed that because of the high rating of the schools, homes in the district sell for about 20% more than in neighboring districts. They also must be spending the money correctly, because school districts can collect money and not use it to make education better. But if you go right across the border, the same builders, same houses, in the next school district, they sell for about 20% less. That's an interesting fact that the local association dealt with. The last interesting thing is that I got from the local government forum is that there's a lot of communities are being faced with anti-smoking ordinances being sponsored by out of area organizations. The main one being the National Lung Association. They're going from city to city to sponsor anti-smoking ordinances for apartments and condominiums and the like. And this one association was fighting it. It turns out that the local jurisdiction doesn't have money to enforce it, that they don't have any statistics that show that the secondhand smoke in apartments is injuring people. So that's something to keep an eye out for, because of the Lung Association going around the state. They could end up here, and we could be faced with a very similar issue. The last The last thing, I was going to tell you about the legislative days coming up April 30th of this year. It's a Wednesday. Please mark it on your calendar. We always have a good group from here, and hope to have another good group this year. Next, my Communications Committee meeting. I'm Vice Chairman of that committee at CAR. Nothing really significant to report. Advertising programs are continuing. The Champions of Home Awards is coming up. Look for nomination forms to be available in the next few weeks. The last issue I wanted to talk to you about was veterans' housing bonds. This issue got my blood boiling. The legislature has a 2/3 majority passing what's going to be Proposition 46 to be on the June ballot that would, via legal manipulations of the Veterans Bonding Authority, take $600 million from that bonding authority that the voters approved for affordable home loans for veterans over about a 14-year period, and divert that $600 million to use for what they say is veterans homeless shelters, veterans low-income rental housing, senior housing, and some other housing. The argument was presented to the Board of Directors that CalVet now has a bonding authority of $1.2 billion and that they haven't been using. And of course, I believe it's because the interest rates have been artificially low over the past 4 to 6 years. I think that's about to change. I think that the lenders in the group would agree with that. CalVet funding is now cheaper than VA funding, 3.9% at CalVet versus 4.5%. In fact, I called CalVet and spoke to the loan division. They're on track to fund $60 million in loans by June 30th of 2014. The issue brought to the Board of Directors was to take a for position on the proposition. That item was postponed until April until we can get some more information together. I know that was a little bit of a lengthy report. Anybody who has any questions is welcome to contact me. Give me a call on the phone, and I'll be happy to answer the questions. Thanks again for sending me to the CAR meetings, and I'll see you next time. Bye.